Imagine standing in an art gallery viewing some amazing pieces of work that you really enjoy, only to notice while you're viewing these that there's this cool, fresh, crisp air blowing across your skin. And you wonder, where is that coming from? Air conditioning systems affect how a building's infrastructure is climatically controlled by means of a mechanical refrigeration process, air handling ventilation systems, and thermostatic control means. Hello, my name is Ricky Wood. I am an HVAC craftsman and I have been working for nearly 12 years on air conditioning systems that climate control buildings. Today I would like to speak with you about mechanical refrigeration process, air handling ventilation systems, and thermostatic control. Let's look at how air conditioning systems remove the heat load from the building's infrastructure. Today, air conditioning systems Today, air conditioning systems lower the building's heating load by a mechanical refrigeration process. Now, through this process itself, you have pretty much two main subcategories of the system. You have your evaporator side, which is your low side, and you have your condensing side, which is your high side. Now, through this process, the air that's being brought back from the building actually has to come back in through the air handling ventilation system and pass through that over that air conditioning coil, where that mechanical refrigerant inside is actually absorbing that heat load from the building. Now, as you can see here, these are a set of manifold refrigerant gauges that I actually use in the field daily when I'm actually on a service call for air conditioning systems. You have your blue gauge, your blue hose for your low side, you have your red gauge, and your red hose for your high side. Now, when I actually hook these up to the system, I can internally see what is going on with that system. If it's having any issues, if it's not, if the pressures aren't right, there could be multiple things that could be happening, for example. But these set of gauges are one of the most important tools that I have to have in the field to actually see that the air conditioning system is actually removing the heat load, how the system is actually designed by the manufacturer. Now, for the condensing side, when that gas is being brought back through that system, that compressor and that condenser is the heart of the system, because it is pumping that freon all the way back through the low side, all the way to the high side of that compressor, and it's been discharged. Desuperheat, condense, and subcool is actually taking place, and this process is continuous. From the low side to the high side, it never stops. That compressor just keeps running, keeps pumping freon through the system, removing the heat load from the building until it's actually satisfied. Next, air handling ventilation systems actually bring in and provide that fresh air that's necessary to meet climate control means for buildings. Air handling ventilation systems provide the fresh air that's necessary to condition the interior of a building. Now, with an air handling ventilation system, there's kind of like the air conditioning system in itself, there's two sides to it. You got a return side, which is bringing all that building load back. All that air that has to come back through that system and get conditioned and filtered. Then you have your supply side, which has a filter bank, air conditioning coil, and a supply fan. Now, through this process, everything is coming back from the building. A percent of it may be exhausted. A percent's definitely being brought back to be mixed with the fresh air that's been brought in from outside the building. And then that air that's going back to the supply is actually going across that filter bank before it goes across the air conditioning coil to be conditioned, and the supply fan is drawing all that fresh air across. According to a Breath of Fresh Air article, Principle 91.1, 2001, Rachel Bailu states, according to a Breath of Fresh Air article, Principle 91.1, 2001 online, Rachel Bailu states the U.S. Government Accountability Office estimates that more than 15,000 schools nationwide report suffering from poor indoor air quality. Wow. I wonder how, just hearing that, I wonder how that makes you feel for parents, even students that's actually going to schools, actually to a public school or a university, that you could actually be impacted and affected by what's going on inside of the actual building itself. That's pretty amazing to know that 15,000 schools are impacted from poor indoor air quality, according to a Breath of Fresh Air article by Rachel Bailu. That's pretty amazing just to know that, because as you can see how the ventilation air handling systems, how important and critical they are to the building's infrastructure itself. How everything's been brought back through, it's been filtered through the system, it's been conditioned by the AC coil, and then it's been brought back into that space where personnel work. There could be multiple tasks going on inside of that building that air is actually impacting them. Finally, thermostats measures the building's temperature by the means of a remote sensor. Thermostat control measures the temperature and controls the amount of cooling needed. Now, take a moment just to kind of visualize. You walk into the front lobby of a building. Now, you may not know that this thermostat process is actually taking place, but while you're standing there, there's a sensor somewhere inside of that space that's actually reading what the temperature of that lobby is. Now, that thermostat is going to continuously read that temperature, and it's going to send a signal back to a direct digital control system inside of a mechanical room, which is actually sending a signal over to an electronic three-way valve on that air conditioning coil. Until that thermostat is actually satisfied for that space temperature, that coil will be regulated by that direct digital control system. Once that remote sensor is actually satisfied, that direct digital control system will send that signal to that electronic three-way valve and tell it to shut down to 0%, that no more cooling is required, that space temperature is satisfied. According to Waste-Not article, Entrepreneur 36.2, 2008, Tiffany Meyer states, according to Waste-Not article, Entrepreneur 36.2, 2008, online, Tiffany Meyer states, according to the most recent statistics from the Center for Sustainable Systems, space cooling accounts for 11% of total electricity consumption in commercial buildings. So you can see how thermostats within themselves, I mean, there could be multiple thermostats throughout an infrastructure depending on offices, depending on the customer's needs. I mean, it could range all the way up to medical facilities where you have different processes taking place where they need different temperature ranges to be met. Now that you have a general idea of how thermostat controls the temperature inside of the infrastructure of a building, I would like to recap over what was discussed today. Today I had an opportunity to speak with you about mechanical refrigeration process, air handling ventilation systems, and thermostatic control means. today's working environment, air conditioning systems play a great deal in how the customer's needs are met. The aspects of HVAC systems has many different varieties and processes that are simultaneously taking place to cool a building's infrastructure. If you experience climatic control needs for the building's infrastructure, just know that you will have a qualified HVAC specialist to diagnose your building needs.